Okay, ladies and gents, welcome. We're here. It's SummerSlam week, and it's time for some SummerSlam 2020 predictions right here on CM42 TV. First wrestling video in a little while, just because things have been busy. No, I've just not had any real things to talk about in terms of wrestling as of late, and I feel like there has been a bit of a gap between the last pay-per-view, which was Extreme Rules, the horror show, and now I did that live reaction video to the Eye for an Eye match, which you can check out here on CM42 TV. But that's a beautiful segue, because I also did a live reaction to the Wyatt Swamp fight between Strowman and Bray Wyatt on that show on my other channel, and that is now where all my wrestling videos are going to live, on the Wrestling Connection podcast YouTube channel, the channel that is about my podcast, my wrestling podcast. In the description box, I'm going to use it as a sort of second channel dedicated all to wrestling. So if you're a wrestling fan, you like my videos and stuff, you like watching my predictions, my reviews, my reactions in terms of wrestling, you can go over there. You can also find the podcast over there. You can find individual excerpts from the podcast, so you don't need to listen to the full thing. And I've also been putting like pay-per-view reviews on there, but in terms of like match star rating form, like Meltzer. I'm trying to be my own Dave Meltzer, so you can check that out over there, the Wrestling Connection podcast YouTube channel. Link in description. If you can maybe subscribe to that, and you'll catch all my wrestling videos on there. I'm also using a new kind of ring light that I bought for videos, and I was thinking that's going to be brilliant because I've got my big light I normally use, and I could use the ring light. But then I put my glasses on and look at the reflection. That's ridiculous. That would scare anybody. So I have to do it now blind with no glasses on, which is fine. I've done that before, so it's fine. I could have contact lenses in, but right now I do not, so you could be over there and I'm talking to nobody. SummerSlam is always one of my favourite pay-per-views every single year. It's the second biggest one. I refuse to believe that it's Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble. It's always SummerSlam as like the second WrestleMania sort of thing, especially in normal circumstances where they have like the big, build-up of the week and stuff, and they have SummerSlam access and all that stuff. Takeover the night before. So that's going to be weird as well. Takeover 30, a huge anniversary takeover, and it's going to be at Full Sail in front of nobody. With Adam Cole, the top guy, versus Pat McAfee, which I'm actually really intrigued by. But I just thought, you'd imagine the top guy being in like the top match, and I guess he is, but not for the title or anything. It's a whole other sort of personal rivalry sort of thing. So NXT will never disappoint, so we'll see what happens there. But in terms of SummerSlam, another very unusual SummerSlam, because usually there's a lot of like the culmination of a lot of rivalries, and everything that's been building up over the summer will get kind of resolved at SummerSlam. Big names here and there, big main event, Lesnar, Goldberg's been in the past couple of years, Roman Reigns of course, but no one to be seen other than Big Drew and Big Randy, who have together, along with Asuka arguably, have held the show together in the COVID PC era. The three best things in the show have been Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton and Asuka, and they're all featured heavily on this show. So predictions wise, WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. Randy Orton doing the best work of his career. Who would have imagined in the year 2020, after all the great things Randy Orton have done, all the title reigns, all the great feuds and rivalries and moments and RKOs out of nowhere, his best work, he's in his prime now, is against Drew McIntyre with no fans in the year 2020. It's strange, but a rightful main event. And I believe Randy Orton is the guy to take the title off of Drew, but I'm not sure if it's right now. I personally, there was a thing on Twitter yesterday basically saying like, what's one thing you want to see happen in the wrestling business before the year's over? And I was like, well, the main one is obviously get fans back and get back to normality, but the main thing I want is for Drew McIntyre to either have a defence or just an appearance with the title in front of a real audience, Of course we're going to have the Thunderdome, which I'm sure is going to be really cool. And I don't know if it's going to immerse us as viewers and the wrestlers themselves and the performers. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very unique. It's going to be... WWE continue to push, the envelope and just trying to think outside the box in all ways, shapes and forms. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do it. Now, obviously, they're debuting it on Friday Night SmackDown as a test run, and I like that. Let's get all the sort of the kinks out the road on Friday. Let's get everything that can go wrong happen on Friday. And then we'll just nail it with SummerSlam. So yes, they're not ruining the novelty. SummerSlam will look different to SmackDown. SmackDown's the test run, and that's fine. Every good show needs a tech and a dress rehearsal, so there you go. They're only having the one though. So I think Drew will retire at SummerSlam, but I think Randy Orton's the one that will take it off for Drew in the future. Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship. I got to say, I'm a very positive guy, especially when it comes to wrestling. I don't like to be negative. There's plenty of wrestling negativity out there. It's a big part of my podcast that me and Glenn try to do. Like it's trying to stay away from the negativity and just have some well-needed wrestling positivity. But I will say that the Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman story that's been going on SmackDown recently, it's just not doing it for me. I don't know what it is. I tend to like all the wrestlers, I like all the performers for different reasons, and I like Strowman and I like Bray. But there's just something about this feud, this story, that's just not clicking for me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I don't have BT Sports, I don't have Fox, I can't watch SmackDown Live every week. So maybe that I'm only watching the highlights, maybe that's take. But I'm the same with Raw, and I'm still in love with Drew and Randy and Asuka and all these people, and Seth and Ray and all that stuff. There's just something about this main story on SmackDown, and I enjoy SmackDown a lot actually. I didn't at the start of the year, but I do enjoy SmackDown with all the tag team stuff and Jeff Hardy being back and all that, the AJ and Daniel Bryan, all that stuff. But just this main event thing, this Strowman and Bray Wyatt feud, like the swamp fight and stuff like that, it's just not doing it for me. And I don't know how they're going to get around this with the Fiend. They keep, booking themselves into a corner with having the Fiend challenge for the title, because he's either going to have to win it, ruining the whole Strowman push, not ruining, but put a wee damper on it, or they're going to have to beat the Fiend again, like Goldberg randomly did in February, and it had no effect whatsoever. So I really have no idea. I really have no clue what they're going to do here. I'd like to think that Strowman keeps the title though, to keep building this run he's on, but who knows. So it's not doing it for me. Hopefully this match at SummerSlam will turn that around. Now, for the women's title matches, I love this idea, right? So at first I was thinking, why are they doing this when they've got so many other great talents? And I was thinking, this is Edge is another one. Edge was supposed to wrestle at SummerSlam, and he's obviously not going to be there. But obviously he's injured, but whatever. Edge said that this is the time, this PC era, this COVID era, is the time to try things, because there's no fans to give you immediate backlash. You know what I mean? They're not just going to boo stuff for the sake of it, like they would do in like Philadelphia or Chicago or something like that. The real wrestling cities that like to boo stuff, even though we try, and bring beach balls and stuff and chant CM Punk and that sort of stuff, drive me nuts. But this whole women's title thing, I love the booking of this, man, because I've got so many great women on the roster. And the three best ones, if you take Becky out of the situation, the other three, and Charlotte I suppose, the other three best ones are Sasha, Bayley and Asuka. And they're just all here for the titles. I think Asuka's going to leave SummerSlam with both the Raw and SmackDown women's titles. And I'd love to go on and wrestle Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott and Mickie James. Mickie James just came back. They should be using Mickie James more. A legit legend that's there now. Obviously, like they've used Trish and Lita before, the legend sort of thing. But they're not there every week, and Mickie James is back now. And I thought I had a cool sort of fantasy booking idea. We know Liv Morgan's kind of doing that kind of psycho girl kind of attitude. Maybe she should do the whole like Mickie James stalker gimmick. You know the way that Mickie James was like Trish Stratus's #1 fan? Maybe Liv Morgan should be Mickie James's #1 fan. Just an idea. Just an idea. You can sign me whenever you want, WWE. But yes, Asuka's going to win both Raw and SmackDown's Women's Championships. It's going to be amazing. She's going to walk out with the 2 belts, and she's going to be doing her promos, and she's going to be doing her dance and stuff. It's going to be brilliant. And then Bayley and Sasha are going to lose the tag titles at Payback, and they're going to go this big downward spiral. They're going to fall out, and they're going to wrestle at WrestleMania. You've heard it here first. What other matches do we have? I need to go closer. Okay, of course, Dominic Mysterio. I just spat everywhere. Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. I'm very intrigued by this. This is a sort of like the Pat McAfee thing with Adam Cole. Seth Rollins has had a great year so far. Arguably Drew McIntyre's best title match was against Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank, one of the best matches of the year. And imagine if that was in front of a crowd, place would be going nuts. So Seth I'm happy he's in this big moment and this big kind of this big match, of course. And I love the fact it's with Dominic. We've literally grown up with Dominic, So that stuff that happened on Raw, I really enjoyed their story. And the whole eye for the eye thing, I get it's kind of wacky and stuff, but it's something different in it. Like, why not? It's just a bit of fun. We all know Ray isn't, lost an eye, but we also know that Dominic isn't going to actually pin Rollins, legitimately. It's going to be a wrestling match, and this is a wrestling storyline, and anything can happen. If you want realism, don't watch it. Do you know what I mean? It's and this is realism. You see the way that Rollins was beating on Dominic with that candlestick and stuff, all those scars. That's realism at its finest. You can't fake that stuff. Drives me nuts. But Dominic's so going to win this, and it's going to be so much fun. Apollo Crews versus MVP. I don't hate this storyline at all. See Raw Underground, right? It's getting a lot of hate online. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I actually quite like the segments. And this MVP and Apollo Crews thing, I don't hate the segments at all. They're doing a good job building up Apollo Crews into something finally. So Apollo's winning that one, no bother. Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza. 2 great teams, 2 teams I really like. Angel Garza and Andrade are just, if they're not the future, I don't know who is. Montez Ford should be WWE champion one day. And I think Kenny McIntosh from Inside the Ropes tweeted the other day, Montez Ford versus Andrade should be a pay-per-view main event one day. And I'm very much behind that. And finally, Mandy Rose versus Sonia Deville, two other, you know, women that are doing really, really well, and I'm really happy they're in this prominent position. Hair versus hair. Random. Because Mandy Rose got a haircut and then Sonia Deville cut it a wee bit more. That's the storyline. And then all this stuff recently with Sonia Deville getting like, what's happened? She's getting like stalked. She's been a stalker. God, I don't know, man. It's a weird storyline. It's a weird stipulation for this match because both of them have like beautiful hair. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you want to shave it off? I don't know. Is Sonia wanting to cut her hair? Did Vince go, let's cut her hair? I don't know. Because Mandy Rose hasn't just gone for a haircut to get it chopped off again. You know what I mean? So Sonia Deville's definitely winning this. But then all this stuff that's happened, they're getting stalked. I don't know if it's a good idea for her to lose the match and get her haircut. You know what I mean? It's a weird situation, it's a weird scenario, and it's a weird stipulation. But it's going to be a good match because this storyline, they've poured their heart and soul into this. They're best pals, they're going for it, man. That's all you can ask for. You know, it's not this prominent storyline that's really holding the show together, but it's always featured and it's always entertaining. So that's all I can ask for as a fan. And all I can ask for is they put on an entertaining SummerSlam. I said this in the podcast this week. The Wrestling Connection, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And here on YouTube, the channel is in the description box. Please subscribe to see more of me. But I said it on the podcast, I hope SummerSlam this year is like a show that I want to go back and watch. Like WrestleMania was kind of like a novelty. Like I'll go and watch the Boneyard match or something, you know. But then like Backlash was cool with the greatest match ever, and Money in the Bank and Extreme Rules. But like in 5 years' time, I'm not going to like, oh, remember that opening match to Extreme Rules 2020. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to want to go back and see this sort of era. But maybe with the Thunderdome and stuff. But then again, if they're using the Thunderdome going forward, I guess it's not going to be a novelty after a while. But it's still a novelty right now. And it's going to be a novelty for a while. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it looks and how it feels. And I'm looking forward to this match card because it's a good match card, working with what they've got. NXT will be great. Remember, AEW's on Saturday night. It's my birthday weekend. It's a very, very exciting weekend, and I am buzzing to watch the wrestling at the weekend. So thanks so much for watching this. Please remember, future or the majority of wrestling videos now, I'm going to be doing a lot more just talking about like shows and network stuff and random matches, that sort of thing. Will all be on my other channel, the Wrestling Connection Podcast YouTube channel, where you can find my podcast and that sort of thing, but also more wrestling content from me. Link in description. Please subscribe. And tune in next time for some more wrestling chat here on CM42 TV and on that other channel. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy SummerSlam. Enjoy SummerSlam weekend. And I will speak to you all in the next video. Cheers.